how do you go about filling the void in defence? Because you're pretty threadbare now with Jordan's injury. What do you do down there this week?
Oh, we'll just have to adjust. We're still capable of fielding 23 players, so we'll just shuffle our team a little bit and maybe give opportunity to some others. Although there are not many others to pick from, but we're still in the situation where we've got some players that we can play there. They may be lacking a bit of experience there, but we're fortunate to have players like Mason Redmond, Andy McGrath, who are experienced players, members of our leadership group, who are generally part of that back six. So we'll no doubt be a bit inexperienced, but it's all about opportunity, which I've been saying for the last couple of months really, and nothing's changed on that front.
Last year, Jordan Ridley went overseas to work on some soft tissue stuff, and clearly this year it hasn't gone the way he would have liked. What else can you do in that area, and what other avenues are you exploring with Jordan to make sure he can get over this?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can say a lot of things. I mean, we're clearly leaving no stone unturned and going worldwide to try and support our players. But clearly we're making some changes in that part of the department. We're pretty deep into a process of looking to appoint some key people in that area, and again that's just not limited to Victoria or Australia. It's a worldwide thing. So we'll just keep engaging the experts in that space, and we're just determined to get him right. He's a really important player for us. He's an important part of our long-term future, and we'll just make whatever investment we need to get him right.
It's been a really wretched run for him. How's he coping?
He's naturally frustrated. I mean, he's but he had a what we describe as a relatively minor hamstring that we were more than in terms of time out, 3 or 4 weeks for a hamstring, and we doubled that return to play in his 4th game back. So it's not as if it's a sort of you could say we rushed his rehab or anything like that, and he's got another minor hamstring strain in a different area of his hamstring. So it's not a true recurrence of the previous injury, but it's another hamstring injury. So it's incredibly frustrating for him and for us, and we really feel for him. But all we can do now is go back to the drawing board and build him back up again, and make sure he's robust and resilient enough to get back and play consistent AFL footy, because he's at his best. He's an elite defender in the competition, and we certainly need to make sure we get him right.
Is there a concern that if players do continue to get injured, that they might look elsewhere? They might think that it is an Essendon system issue?
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly we're making change in that space, so we think that there are things that we would like to adjust and change. But historically, there's been lots of different clubs have had different issues. But I mean, we've had some issues, but I think it's really important. People can be fairly general in these. I mean, as I've said before, Will Setterfield gets his foot stomped on. We have 4 ACLs. We have, Jai Caldwell gets his ankle caught in a tackle, needs surgery on a syndesmosis, which a lot of players in the competition have. So some of it, we're really frustrated in that we think they should be controllable, but we've also had a whole spate of uncontrollable injuries as well. So you look at our injuries in totality, it is, a real issue for us. But it's not as if every single one of those have been absolutely controllable.
Have you seen there's reports that Sam Draper might be looking to go to Brisbane? Have you seen those reports, and what's the latest with Sam and his contract situation?
No, that's news to me. I mean, we're in constant dialogue. I've been really clear all year about supporting Drapes in terms of his decision-making process. He's got a big call to make, and one thing I do know is he loves the Essendon Football Club, and he loves the opportunity that he got here. And but we're in an era of free agency, and my personal belief is that players they've got to, as long as they know all the information, they've got to make a decision that's in their best interest. And the club's responsibility is to present a vision that we think Drapes thinks his future's here, but we understand the nature of the way the system works, and That's news to me. And I'd like to think that I would know before most.
Are you confident that he'll stay though? Because it sounds like, there's a bit of doubt there.
Well, I think any player who's out of contract, coming into August, there'd always be a question mark, as Drapes is one of many players in that situation at the moment. So, but true to form, and as I've been saying all year, we won't be putting undue pressure on Drapes, and he'll take as long as he needs to make his call. But he's a much loved member of our club and of our team, and personally I'd love him to stay, and he knows that. But he's got a really important decision to make, and whichever decision he makes, and if that is to stay at Essendon, I want to make sure that he's come to that decision himself and he hasn't been overly coerced.
How involved are you in the contingencies in the ruck space that doesn't fall your way, given the three guys you've got, including Tom as well as a fourth, that they are out of contract?
No, we're very, very. I think our list management team have done a terrific job with our ruck stocks. I mean, we played Lockie Blackiston as a key back, mostly through necessity, but we really feel we got ahead of the draft with Lockie. He's a high-performing ruckman at second-tier level, so we feel we've got a lot of ruck depth, and that's not to diminish the importance of Draper. I mean, but we think the list management team have done a pretty good job in giving us ruck depth.
Will we a chance to see a 14th debutant this week?
Yep. Well, I mean, when you have 2/3 of your games this year feature a debutant, there's always a chance for another one. Although it's getting thinner and thinner because, we've got 47 players on our list because we took 4 players in the mid-season draft. So, there's only a certain number you can play. But, there's a couple of guys that we'd like to see, push maybe just that little bit harder to get an opportunity, because as much as we're in a difficult spot, we still like to promote guys on merit, all the guys that have come in, all the debutants this year have earned their opportunity. It hasn't been through just we have no choice but to play them, and so we're still in a situation where we have a choice, in terms of who we play. We only have 4 players playing the VFL on the weekend, but we'll still be picking our team, fortunately, on best available and not through absolute necessity to fill the team.
Is Hobbs in the mix? Set it up?
Yeah, he's he didn't play at all last week. He trained and was close to being available, but we just felt another week for him in terms of getting over his sort of minor groin issue was the right way to go, and provided he trains fully today, he should be available.
Spoke about the extra 4 guys you picked up in mid-season. It means you've got 4 extra decisions to make at the end of the year. How challenging as a list manager is that going to be, given you've got 4 extras? You have to say that's it.
Yeah, I talk about the AFL roller coaster all the time. There's the highs and lows. Unfortunately, the mathematics tells you in our industry there are more lows than highs. And there's the elation and the joys of players being drafted in a mid-season draft, and then 6 months later, you're faced with a discussion as to, whether they can stay on the list or not. But we don't isolate the 4 mid-season draftees. It's just our list in totality, which
just in terms of the whole,
yeah. No, we've got. I can't think of a time in footy where we're facing a situation like we are, where we've just got a lot of guys injured, a lot of them long term. 47 players on our list, and we're tight for list spots. So it's a huge challenge and a bit of a juggling act at the moment. But again, you try and be as empathetic as you can to players in their careers. But the reality is, we've got to make the decisions that are in the best interest of the Essendon Football Club, short, medium, long term. And there are going to be a lot of hard decisions, but we've got to make them.
And just finally, Greg Swan's been quite vocal this week on the media rounds, and you've sat in a similar chair. Is there anything that's pricked your interest this week in what he's had to say? And I guess more specifically, that the gut punches he's sort of been strong on, rather than a fine, there'll be a 1 week. Does that sit comfortable with you?
Yeah, I think any time that there's a comment like that, it's actually helpful. I find it, because it's whether you agree with it or not. I mean, I don't try not to get too involved in the, clearly we have an opinion, or I have an opinion as a coach. But I mean, if that's the way Greg sees it, and that's the way it's going to be adjudicated, that's all I need to know. So that's our instruction to our players. You couldn't be clearer than that. So, you know, if you've been warned and you do it and you get a week, you shouldn't be complaining about it.
What about the sub rule? He says that he's not too keen on that. Your thoughts?
Music to my ears. Yeah. Well, yeah, and one of the things, you know, the AFL, you know, and I can say this because I was part of it, but, you know, we've probably been accused of being a bit slow to move on things. You know, if that's the view of the majority and certainly the powers that be, then my only input would be, if that's your view, do it. Don't wait.